Lieutenant Mara Vey crouched in the shadows of the ruined outpost, her heart pounding like a drum in the silence. The red sun of the distant planet cast long, jagged shadows across the broken walls, making the destruction around her look like a graveyard frozen in time. Once this place had been alive, bustling with scientists, engineers, and soldiers. Now it was empty, save for the signs of a recent invasion. Mara's uniform was torn and stained, the insignia of the United Earth Forces barely visible. Her blaster was cold in her hands, its power pack half empty. She had counted the steps of the alien patrols, memorized their sounds, and tracked every shift in the wind. Every instinct in her body screamed at her that death was near, yet she had survived this long, one careful breath at a time. She had faced death before. She had watched comrades fall to the Xylar, an alien species known for their precision and cruelty in war. But this was different. The Xylar warlord Krelvar was coming for her personally. Rumors said he was unstoppable, a towering figure with armored skin and eyes that glowed like molten metal. Myra had never met him, but the stories were enough. He was said to kill without mercy, and she knew she had no chance against him in open combat. Her mind wandered to the last transmission she had received from her commander. "Hold the line, Mara. Humanity depends on you." Those words felt hollow now. She had failed. The outpost was lost, the research stolen, and her people were scattered across the planet like leaves in a storm. Mara had only herself left. The sound of heavy footsteps on metal alerted her. Her muscles tensed, and she pressed her back against the cracked wall. The footsteps grew louder, echoing through the empty corridors like a death knell. Mara's breath caught in her throat. She had expected a firefight, maybe even a chance to fight back, but deep down she knew it was futile. Then a shadow fell across her hiding spot. Krelvar stepped into view, taller and broader than any human could imagine. His armor was sleek, dark, and alien, yet it moved with a grace Mara didn't expect from a creature of such size. His glowing eyes scanned the room, settling on her with an intensity that made her stomach twist. "You are Lieutenant Mara Vey," he said, his voice low and resonant, almost musical in its cadence. "I have come for you." Mara's mind raced. She could shoot, she could run, she could try to negotiate, but each option seemed to lead to the same end. Death. She lowered her blaster slightly, her hands trembling. I am," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Krelvar studied her for a long moment, then tilted his head. "You expect fear," he said. "Yet you do not run. Why?" Mara had no answer. Fear was inside her, yes, but it was tangled with something else, defiance, perhaps, or stubborn hope. She had survived so far because she refused to give the Xylar the satisfaction of seeing her break. "You will die," Krelvar continued. "But I am curious. Humans are unpredictable. You do not behave as your kind usually does." The words struck Myra like a physical blow. Kill her, yet he spoke of curiosity. Confusion twisted inside her. She could not understand the alien mind, but she sensed an opening, a small, fragile chance. Mara's training kicked in. Survival was not just about strength. It was about perception, about reading the enemy. She forced herself to stand slowly, keeping her blaster pointed just enough to make him cautious. "I don't want to fight you," she said, her voice firmer now. "If this is about the outpost, I am not responsible for what happened." Krelvar's glowing eyes narrowed. "Responsibility is irrelevant. The strong take what they can, the weak perish." Yet he did not advance. He simply observed, as if measuring her will, her courage, or perhaps something else Mara could not name. Time stretched, heavy and tense, until Mara felt a strange shift in the air. Something unexpected happened. Krelvar lowered his weapon, slowly. He stepped closer but kept a careful distance, as if respecting some invisible line. Mara's mind screamed at her to stay alert, but she could not ignore the curiosity sparking in her chest. Why spare her? "Your species," Krelvar said finally, "is remarkable. Even when cornered, even when death is certain, you show potential." Mara blinked. "Potential? I don't understand." "You will," he said. "Not yet, but soon you may find that what you expected, death, is not the only path." Her pulse quickened. Hope flickered in her chest, fragile as a candle flame. Could it be that she had misjudged him? That there was something more beneath the armor, beneath the reputation of the Xylar warlord? Myra's training screamed caution, but her heart whispered a daring thought. Maybe she could survive, not through combat, but through understanding. For the first time since the outpost fell, Mara felt a shift inside her. Fear was still there, yes, but it was no longer the only force driving her. Curiosity and perhaps a spark of courage took root. She had prepared to die, but now she faced something unknown. Something unexpected. Krelvar finally turned, his massive form moving toward the exit. "Follow," he commanded. Mara hesitated. She could run, she could fight, she could hide, but none of those choices offered the chance to learn, to live, to see what lay beyond the immediate threat. With careful steps, she followed. The corridors of the outpost stretched before them like a maze. Every shadow, every broken panel seemed to hum with tension. Mara's mind raced, thinking of what she might face. Prison, interrogation, or something far stranger. The Xyler had always been ruthless, but this behavior defied all known patterns. Krelvar led her to a chamber deep within the ruins, a room that once held research equipment. Broken screens flickered, dust drifted in the dim light, and yet in the center a strange device pulsed with energy. Mara's eyes widened. She had never seen technology like this. "This is only a fraction of what your people could understand," Krelvar said, his voice echoing softly. "Yet you have the mind to grasp it if you survive." Mara swallowed hard. The thought of surviving, of learning, of possibly using this knowledge to help humanity, it filled her with a sense of purpose she had not felt in days. For a moment, the fear of death faded, replaced by something stronger, determination. Krelvar's glowing eyes met hers. "You are ready to die," he said, "and yet you live. This is your nature. This is why humans endure where others fail." Mara felt a warmth in her chest, a fierce pride. Humanity had always been underestimated, dismissed as weak, fragile, predictable. Yet here she was, alive, facing an enemy who had come to kill her, and finding the path forward was not through death, but through understanding, through courage, through the uniquely human spark that no alien mind could fully predict. As the chamber hummed with alien energy, Mara realized something profound. The fight was far from over. The war had only just begun, and though the Xyler were strong, humanity's greatest weapon was not technology, armor, or weapons. It was the indomitable human spirit, the ability to survive, to adapt, and to face the unknown with courage. And Mara Vey, ready to die just moments ago, now faced the unexpected, a chance not only to survive, but to change the course of history. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself a small, steady breath. She would not fall, she would endure. Humanity would endure. The chamber hummed with an unfamiliar energy, and Lieutenant Mara Vey's eyes darted from the strange device at the center to Krelvar, who stood silently beside her. The Xyler warlord's glowing eyes reflected the pulsating light, but his expression, if it could be called that, was unreadable. Mara's mind raced. She had expected pain, captivity, maybe even death. Instead, she found herself standing at the threshold of something she could not have imagined. "You are curious," Krelvar said suddenly, breaking the silence. "Good. Curiosity is a rare trait among your species, especially when the situation seems hopeless." Mara swallowed hard. She had lived through countless battles, faced enemies who had no mercy, yet Krelvar's words unsettled her in a way she hadn't anticipated. She wanted to ask questions, demand answers, yet every instinct warned her to be careful. The Xyler were unpredictable, and one wrong move could cost her life. I don't understand," Mara said cautiously. "Why spare me? Why show me this technology?" Krelvar tilted his head, considering her words. "I do not act as my kind expects. You humans are different. Predictable in your fears, unpredictable in your choices. I am curious about your nature. I am curious about you." The words sounded strange, even foreign, but Mara felt a spark of hope. Could it be that Krelvar wasn't here to kill her? Could it be that her species, humanity, might gain something from this encounter? She took a step closer to the device, which pulsed softly like a heartbeat. The walls around them were lined with panels, flickering with alien symbols she did not understand. Krelvar's eyes followed her every move, unblinking. "This," he said, gesturing to the device, "is only a small fraction of what my people have developed. A power that could change the outcome of your war, but understanding it requires more than strength. It requires creativity, courage, and ingenuity, qualities your species possesses in abundance." Mara's heart quickened. The thought of technology capable of shifting the war's balance was overwhelming. Her mind flashed to her scattered team, her commander's words, and the countless lives lost. Could this be the chance humanity needed? "You're offering this to me?" she asked, incredulous. "You want me to learn it?" Krelvar's glowing eyes softened slightly. "Yes. But be warned, it is not a gift. It is a test. The Xylar Council will never allow a human to wield this power lightly. You must prove your worth if you can. Mara's mind raced. A test? That sounded dangerous. But she also knew that she had no other choice. If she refused, her chance at survival and humanity's chance to fight back would vanish. Taking a deep breath, she nodded. I accept. Tell me what I need to do. Krelvar's voice was calm, yet carried weight. First, you must understand the device. Its power is not in its energy, but in the patterns it creates. Observe, adapt, and predict. Only then will you grasp its potential. For hours, Mara studied the device under Krelvar's careful watch. It was unlike anything she had seen before, a complex lattice of glowing lines and shifting panels, patterns moving like a living organism. She reached out cautiously, tracing the flow of energy with her fingers, feeling the subtle vibrations that seemed to respond to her touch. You are slow, Krelvar remarked after a while, though his tone lacked malice. But you are precise. Patience will serve you well. Mara clenched her jaw. Precision had been humanity's strength for centuries, engineering, exploration, strategy. She had survived countless missions because humans could think, adapt, and solve problems in ways the Xylar could not predict. Now that skill might save her life, and perhaps the lives of countless others. Hours passed, then days. Mara's understanding grew. She learned to anticipate the device's responses, to guide the energy without being consumed by it. Krelvar observed, rarely speaking, but occasionally offering cryptic hints that pushed her to think harder, faster, and smarter. During breaks, Mara began to notice the Xylar's behavior in the outpost. The warlord did not act with cruelty, and even when other Xylar patrols passed through the area, they treated her with a strange respect. It was almost as if Krelvar's influence extended beyond himself. She realized that the aliens were not a single-minded force of destruction. Divisions existed within their ranks, disagreements and conflicts she could exploit. Mara's mind worked tirelessly. Could humanity form alliances, even with a portion of the Xylar? Could the very enemy she had feared most become a partner against a greater threat? Every lesson she learned from Krelvar hinted at that possibility. One evening, as the twin moons of the planet hung low in the sky, Krelvar spoke quietly. You are learning faster than expected. Perhaps faster than I anticipated. Mara met his gaze. Then, do you think I can wield this power to help my people? Krelvar considered her question. Perhaps, but power alone is not enough. You must understand your enemies. You must anticipate them. You must trust yourself, even when every instinct tells you to doubt. The words resonated deeply with Mara. Trust herself. That had been her challenge throughout her career, the battles, the losses, the constant fear. Yet here in this strange alliance she felt the stirrings of confidence. Humanity's edge was not in weapons or armor, but in ingenuity, courage, and the ability to make choices no one expected. Days turned into weeks. Mara's training intensified. She experimented with the device, manipulating its energy, creating patterns that pulsed with precision. Each success, each small breakthrough made her more confident. And each time she succeeded, Krelvar's eyes seemed to reflect a hint of respect, or maybe curiosity. Then came the moment she had not anticipated. Krelvar brought her to the observation balcony of the outpost. Below, the battlefield stretched across the planet's surface. Xylar patrols moved with efficiency, but she noticed gaps, vulnerabilities that had been invisible before. You see, Krelvar said softly, even the strongest have weaknesses. Even the most disciplined can be predicted if one observes carefully. Mara's mind raced. She began formulating strategies, considering not just survival but offense. Humanity could fight back, yes. And now, with knowledge gleaned from the enemy itself, they could strike where no one expected. Yet doubt lingered. Could she trust Krelvar completely? Could she risk exposing her own species to a partial alliance with the Xylar? Her mind wrestled with these questions. Every decision could mean life or death for herself, for humanity, for the fragile hope she was nurturing. One night, while she worked alone with the device, Krelvar approached quietly. I will tell you something few humans have ever heard, he said. The Council does not see potential as you do. They see weakness. That is why you must be careful. That is why you must think, anticipate, and act before they strike. Mara's pulse quickened. The stakes were higher than ever. Knowledge was power, yes, but it was also danger. She realized that surviving Krelvar's tests was only the first step. The next challenge would be surviving the Xylar Council itself. Yet for the first time, Mara did not feel hopeless. She had thought she would die at Krelvar's hands, yet here she stood, learning, adapting, preparing. She felt a spark of something that had almost vanished from her heart, hope. Humanity's survival was not just a dream, it was possible. And with her determination, courage, and ingenuity, she could help shape that possibility into reality. The night was silent, broken only by the hum of the alien device. Mara stood tall, her eyes reflecting the soft glow. She had faced despair, fear, and death. And now she faced the unexpected, the chance to learn, to survive, and to turn the tide of war. Tomorrow, she whispered to herself, we begin. And in that quiet, resolute moment, Mara realized something powerful. Survival was not enough. Humanity would endure. Humanity would adapt. Humanity would rise. Even against impossible odds, even when the universe seemed determined to crush them, humans had one unyielding strength, the will to persevere. And Mara Vey, ready to die not long ago, would be the spark that reminded the galaxy why humanity could never be underestimated. The sun of the distant planet rose slowly, casting long, golden shadows across the broken outpost. Lieutenant Mara Vey stood on the observation balcony, her eyes scanning the battlefield below. The Xylar patrols moved with military precision, yet for the first time, Mara saw patterns, vulnerabilities that no one had noticed before. She had spent weeks learning from Krelvar, understanding the alien mind and mastering the device that pulsed with strange alien energy. Now it was time to act. Krelvar stood beside her, silent, his glowing eyes fixed on the horizon. Mara had grown to understand him, a warlord who defied expectations, who had seen humanity not as weak prey, but as a species capable of surprise, innovation, and courage. Yet trust was still a fragile thing. The Xylar Council would never accept humans meddling in their affairs. One misstep and both of them would die. We must strike tonight, Mara said, her voice steady. The Council believes we will do nothing. They expect routine obedience. They underestimate us. Krelvar inclined his head slightly. Your people are clever. Perhaps even brilliant in ways my kind does not appreciate. But remember, Mara, one error could destroy everything. Mara's heart pounded. She had planned, calculated, and anticipated, yet the unknown always lurked. That was humanity's edge, the ability to act unpredictably, to adapt when the rules changed. She knew that every move mattered. Every second could be the difference between victory and annihilation. As night fell, the outpost hummed with activity. Mara worked with the device, synchronizing its energy with the patterns she had observed in the Xylar patrols. The device glowed brighter, its pulses matching the rhythm of her determination. With Krelvar as her guide, she understood how to amplify the energy, create illusions, and disrupt the enemy's perception. We can't fail, Mara whispered to herself. Not now, not after everything we've learned. The operation began quietly. Mara sent signals through the device, causing small disruptions in the Xylar patrols. Their communication faltered, their formations wavered, and for the first time they were vulnerable. Mara observed the patterns, predicting their moves, guiding Krelvar and his forces where they would gain the most advantage. From her vantage point, Mara could see the confusion spreading. Xylar soldiers hesitated, unsure of what had changed. It was subtle but enough. Humanity had gained the upper hand not through brute force, but through intellect, observation, and ingenuity. Krelvar spoke softly beside her. You have changed the course of this battle, Mara. Your mind is remarkable. Mara's pulse quickened. Praise from a warlord was strange, yet it fueled her resolve. She had learned to trust her instincts, to predict the unexpected, and now that trust was paying off. Humanity was not powerless. Humanity could fight, could adapt, and could survive. The real challenge came when a section of the Xylar Council arrived unexpectedly, suspecting interference. Mara's mind raced. They would recognize the disruptions immediately, and if they traced them, it would lead directly to her. She had only moments to act. With a steady hand, she manipulated the device, creating illusions of human forces where none existed. Shadows moved along the battlefield, blasters fired, and energy pulses flashed, confusing the Council's forces. Krelvar followed her commands, moving with precision that no one could predict. The Council faltered, unsure whether to attack or retreat. You're brilliant, Krelvar said quietly, his voice tinged with awe. No Xylar could have done this. Mara's heart swelled with pride, but she knew the danger was not over. The Council's main force was approaching, larger and more disciplined. Every second counted. She adjusted the device again, this time creating a controlled energy surge that disrupted the Council's communication entirely. Orders were ignored, formations collapsed, and the tide of battle shifted. In the chaos, Mara led Krelvar to a strategic vantage point overlooking the battlefield. Together, they coordinated the final phase of the operation. Humanity's ingenuity and Xylar discipline worked in tandem, creating a force that no one had expected. Mara's mind raced, predicting enemy movements, guiding energy surges, and exploiting weaknesses. The Council's forces, disoriented and divided, began to retreat. Mara felt a surge of triumph, but she remained vigilant. One miscalculation could reverse everything. Her mind focused, every thought deliberate, every action precise. Then came the critical moment. The Council's flagship, heavily armed and nearly invincible, advanced toward the outpost. Mara's device could disrupt it, but the risk was immense. If she miscalculated, the energy backlash could destroy everything, the outpost, Krelvar, and herself. Mara took a deep breath, steadying her nerves. "We can do this," she whispered. "We must." With careful precision, she activated the device, directing its energy toward the flagship. Pulses of light rippled across the sky, distorting sensors and shields. The flagship faltered, its weapons misfiring, its communication disrupted. The Xylar soldiers inside panicked, unable to comprehend the sudden chaos. Mara's plan worked flawlessly. Krelvar watched with a mixture of admiration and surprise. "You have done what no Xylar could," he said. "You have turned the impossible into reality." Mara felt a wave of relief and pride. Humanity had prevailed, not through strength alone, but through adaptability, intelligence, and courage. She had taken what seemed hopeless and found opportunity. She had taken knowledge, observation, and the willingness to act, and turned it into survival and victory. As dawn broke, the battlefield lay in silence. The Xylar Council had retreated, their forces scattered and demoralized. Krelvar turned to Mara, his glowing eyes reflecting the rising sun. "You have changed the course of history," he said. "Your species is stronger than I imagined." Mara's chest swelled with pride, but she remained humble. Humanity had won, but the fight was far from over. There would be more battles, more challenges, more moments when ingenuity and courage would be tested. Yet she knew one truth. Humans had an edge that no one could predict, a strength that went beyond weapons or technology, the will to endure, adapt, and survive. Mara looked at the outpost, at the broken walls and scattered debris, and saw not destruction, but opportunity. She had learned from the enemy, gained knowledge that could save countless lives, and discovered the unexpected strength within herself. She had faced death, despair, and the impossible, and emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to lead humanity forward. Krelvar spoke again, his voice calm but firm. "I have watched many humans. Few survive my tests, fewer still learn as you have. You are extraordinary." Mara nodded, feeling a quiet determination settle within her. "We are extraordinary," she replied. "Humanity has survived countless challenges, and we will survive this too. Together we can turn what seems impossible into reality." The two of them stood on the balcony, overlooking the battlefield and the distant horizon. Mara felt a deep sense of purpose. The war was not over, but she had seen the power of human ingenuity, the spark that could ignite hope even in the darkest moments. As the twin moons rose again in the night sky, Mara realized that she was no longer the soldier ready to die. She was a symbol of what humanity could achieve, a testament to courage, intelligence, and resilience. And in that moment, she understood something profound. Survival was only the beginning. Humanity's true strength lay in its ability to think, adapt, and rise above any challenge. No force, no enemy, no odds could extinguish the human spirit. Mara Vey, once cornered and despairing, now stood as a beacon of hope. The unexpected had become opportunity, fear had become determination, and despair had transformed into triumph. Humanity had found its edge, and it was unstoppable. The battle was won, but the war continued. Yet Mara knew this. With courage, intellect, and unity, humanity would endure. Humanity would thrive. And the galaxy would remember that humans, when faced with the impossible, could turn even the darkest moments into victory. As she walked back into the outpost, Krelvar beside her, Mara smiled quietly. She had learned the most important lesson of all. The true power of humanity was not in its weapons, its technology, or its numbers. It was in its heart, its mind, and its unwavering will to rise, no matter the odds. And Mara Vey, the human who had faced death and found the unexpected, was living proof.